Well, it's the last day of class, end of the semester, the spring of 2022. And I'm quite frankly tired. It's been a long semester, a lot of things going on, travel, taught 2 classes back to back at night. Daughter graduated this past weekend, and I have to tell you, students, they're a little bit fried too. But I'd like to take a minute, take a look at higher education today, respond to some comments and some of the questions that you've asked, and also share with you some conversations that I've had with academics and administrative and higher ed circles that really get to the heart of what's going on in higher education today. So let's find out together. Hi, I'm James Callahan, and this is the Do-Over Show, where we learn to work for ourselves, not just for someone else. And I need to begin this with, gratitude. I need to say thank you. So many of you have left comments and responded and liked and subscribed to the videos about higher ed and do-overs in life on this channel, the Do-Over Show, and I am so grateful. Some of you have shared with me, with everyone, stories of your struggles. Some of you are young in your careers, just starting off, looking for guidance, looking for a clear path to the future because you found something you really love and you want to know, can you make a living doing it? And others, you've really been through it. And you've shared some heartbreaking stories about your struggles and your disappointments. And yes, there's a lot to be disappointed with in the way, especially temp and non-traditional faculty are treated in higher education. And some of those stories that you shared just are heartbreaking. So I'd like to take this chance to say, first of all, thank you. And let's find a way forward to a better future together. And here's the most encouraging thing. You haven't given up. You haven't called to quits. You've actually stuck it out. You've created new opportunities, even though everything was stacked against you. You found a way to do something that you love, that you want to do, to pour your best into the lives of young adults who look at education as an opportunity to change their future, the trajectory of their lives. And you get to be an important part of it. That's one of the most valuable things you can find in life. And for those of you that have found creative ways through this, stay with it. For those of you who are just starting off, for those of you still looking at higher education, wondering if there is a path, a career, an opportunity for your futures, for something valuable that you can do with your life, I want to give you one of the most obvious things that I've learned in interacting and working for 20 plus years, and that is older professors are not only cynical, but they're not a lot of help. I know we look up to them. I remember my early days. I looked up to them and I asked them for advice and career guidance. I expected them. I wanted them to make a valuable contribution in my life and to show me a way to make something happen, to make something worthwhile out of my career. And all of them, pretty much, maybe it's just me, but all of them failed. They didn't give me the kind of direction and advice or mentoring that I had hoped for. And when I share this with other people, they nod and say, yeah, pretty much, they're disappointed too. Yeah, I know that sounds harsh. And maybe you found the unicorn out there that's actually helpful and actually given you a chance and given you an opportunity and helped you find work, full-time work, meaningful work in higher education. But for the most part, yeah, that's a unicorn.
Look at that fluffy unicorn. He's so fluffy, I'm gonna die.
So not long ago, I had a conversation with the department chair about compensation levels. That is, he'd seen one of my videos and he said, hey, we're getting a chance to revise some of our expectations for adjuncts and non-traditional faculty. And so he shared with me the compensation levels, the requirements, the things that they ask of adjuncts. And I said, well, all those things like committee participation and student advising and extracurriculars that you ask the adjuncts to attend, I said, you need to give compensation for that. And you need to bump up the level of compensation. You need to arrange classes around their schedule so that they can cobble together a life and maybe a couple adjunct roles. And you also need to give them a chance to do more than just one class. A lot of schools have limits on how many classes an individual adjunct can teach during an academic year. They think they're doing adjuncts a favor. What they're actually doing is making it much more difficult for adjuncts to put together a life in which teaching becomes a significant part of how they're able to earn a living. So yeah, you have to adjust all that. And this department chair's response was, I can't do any of that. It's not in my hands. That all comes from the academic dean and the provost. They design, they structure. I'm just wondering how I can make it a little bit nicer for them. I said a pizza party or a casual Friday is not going to help them make a living, and it's not going to valuably contribute to the quality of their life and their value to you as that professor that you need to teach courses. Did you know that in most higher education circles, 70% of the courses are taught by non-traditional, non-tenure track, temporary, or adjunct faculty? 70%. That means not only is everybody probably taking a course by an adjunct, but that means that adjuncts are at just about every school, not just for-profit schools, but a lot of nonprofit schools. I teach at Elmhurst University, and there is a large cohort of adjuncts. Some of us have been doing it for years. Others cycle through when they're in grad school in the area. They come and go. But they still rely on a lot of adjuncts. And adjunct pay, pretty stagnant over the course of my 20 years at Elmhurst University. So recently, I got a chance to have a series of conversations with academic executives who actually knew the budgets and the money and where it goes and where it comes from in higher education. And in the course of that conversation, there was an offhanded comment that a couple people agreed with, and that was that an adjustment of about 1.5 to 2.5% of a college or university's budget, and they could dramatically increase the amount of money that they give to compensate non-traditional and adjunct faculty. So my obvious question was, well, why hasn't it happened? And here's their explanation. College and university presidents are hired primarily to be fundraisers. Fundraisers not of new faculty lines or endowed chairs or research programs, fundraisers for buildings. And the reason for this is because higher education today, colleges and universities, are really based in the model known as a REIT, or real estate investment trust. And that is that the fundraising and the efforts of the school and the investment in the future and the quality of the school are always seen through the lens of buildings and property, and then building and property maintenance. Next, colleges and universities are Airbnbs. Yep, room and board for students on campus. They run basically an Airbnb, and they hope to get a good review from students of their stay at the Airbnb so that they can get a higher ranking in U.S. News and World Report. And then, on top of being an Airbnb, most colleges and universities run a rec program, not like the Summer Park District, and not just like, a Planet Fitness, but pretty close, with coaches and programs and facilities that are designed to give you the full experience of what a young adult needs to be healthy and to thrive and to generate possibly a little bit of income and scholarship basis for some students. After all of that, after the REIT, after the Airbnb, after the health club, then they offer this little thing called an education. And it's not just a sidelight, it's really the guise or the reason why most people are there. And it gives them some credibility. It gives them value in the workplace and in an economy that you can produce graduates who are suited to contribute to the economy and the economic life and stability and well-being of their communities. That is, they receive accreditation because they meet those standards and they are able to pursue them, but it's never more than a small portion of the budget. And that's the reason why higher education is experiencing, so many problems, because there's been a significant shift away from academics and the accredited world of academia, more towards the bricks and mortar kind of school that is basically a building campaign and a fundraising exercise. So who is responsible for this? Is it the students' fault? Parents of students? Maybe alumni? Maybe the professors? Have you ever paid attention at a graduation ceremony? When they're about to confer a degree, there's this whole basic language they go through about by the recommendation of the faculty to the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees confers the degree and all the rights and privileges and responsibilities thereunto affixed. Yeah, the trustees of colleges and universities, they own the college and university. They're financially responsible, they're legally responsible. They're the ones that run REITs and Airbnbs and health clubs and call it college and university life today. The trustees, that's where the buck stops. If you want to change things, you're not going to change it just in the classroom. You're not going to change it in a faculty meeting, no matter how much you complain. And that's what most faculty meetings turn into when people try to change things. Because the trustees are not there and they're not listening. The trustees are the ones who are responsible for the abuse of student loans, the accelerating rates of attending higher education, the federal funding that was granted to higher education loans. That's because of the influence of trustees and their lobbying efforts with U.S. government. The trustees are the ones responsible for the educational mess, the financial mess associated with higher education today. But here's the thing. Most of the people hiring today in today's workplace, hiring for good paying jobs, are college graduates, and they're still asking and they're still hiring college graduates to fill the new jobs because that's what they understand and that's what they know. And this is where there's some strangely encouraging glimmer of hope for the role of higher education and the role of those of us who struggle on the underside of higher education to find the good in it. And that is that there's still an opportunity of influencing the course of the next generation, young adults, who for the most part are eager to learn. They're ready to learn. They're here to learn if we can be transparent with them, if we can be direct with them and show them the value of what we are communicating, what we are sharing, and what we are modeling for them in the classroom, and not play the game of higher education, but show them what is of value to them and how it will influence their life. That will stay with them. I still get notes from students, whether it was from yesterday or from 20 years ago, who remember, who think about the influence that kind of transparency that we had together in the classroom, how it's influenced their life. So beyond the romantic experience of higher education and the love you have for the classroom and the library when it wasn't a coffee house, was actually a place where we went to study and was a quiet place. You remember that? Well, beyond that, all that romanticism, there is still a significant reason for hope in higher education, but you and I have to work to find it. Because the trustees aren't going to make it happen, the presidents they hire aren't going to make it happen, and the faculty chairs that say, hey, I've done all that I can do, are not going to make it happen. We have to work and work hard at it for the right reasons, and work at it because we want to, not just because we have to, but because we want to. If that's you, then I encourage you, teach better, work better, be more caring and be more transparent, and you'll find the reward you're looking for in higher education. If not financially, then as a real human being. And thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. Please, could you tap the like button? And while you're down there, how about you subscribe and ring the notifications bell so you don't miss the next episode and I can say nice things to you like thank you for commenting and for subscribing. I'm so glad you found me and I found you. Thanks.